the quote elites of America fought the British elites because they were tired of saying, well, I'm actually your cousin, but I'm not a lord, so I can't ship products out of the colonies. And so if the rich guys want freedom, and they finally set up for themselves, that will have to trickle down. And that's why they can point at America's beginning and say we weren't perfect. But it was the idea of the process.
Yeah.
And as more people get into that, that's the victory. So now you look at who is the leaders of the military. They'll have some token people. Oh, look, a black guy, a white lady or whatever. But if you actually look, it's a bunch of blue bloods whose grandfathers were in control at the end of World War II when America absorbed the British Empire and became this new globalist system. So America is like the engine and the brain, along with the British intelligence, of this very evil thing. I love America. I mean, I've got Jones. I mean, I've got a Welsh last name. I'm not an Anglophile, but I'm not an Anglophobe. But the system of the British Empire and the ghost of it through BlackRock and its Royal Institute of International Affairs and the CFR and these corporate management boards are devolving the governments while they expand them and transferring the power to themselves. That's the New World Order. That's globalism.
But it's actually the Old World Order.
It is. You're right.
It's
That's
really
so
just
good.
the Old World Order in New World
good.
clothing.
That's exactly it.
And that's what we got to understand. And so the optimistic side of me says that what a special time it would have been to be alive in the spring of 1776. I mean, it was a special time to be alive. You got Thomas Jefferson, the age of 33. People say I'm old. I'm young. Well, I'm old compared to Thomas Jefferson. He was 33 when he wrote the Declaration of
Absolutely.
Independence.
Genius.
You have people who were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid, that said, you know what, we are going to not just be victimized by this. We're going to chart a new way forward.
Well, 33
That's
was
the
old.
moment we live in.
I totally agree. 33 was old back then because a lot of people died young. You either
Yeah.
die young or live a really long time, but the average was we didn't live as long. You're absolutely right. People were married by 16. People were explorers by 16. And Thomas Jefferson lived a long time, but by 33, he was leading a revolution against an empire that had
And
never
an
been
inventor,
defeated.
and he was inventing things. He was an engineer. He invented the swivel chair, invented a bunch of other things too, while he's writing the
cool.
Declaration of Independence. That spirit, in some ways, would history have produced the Thomas Jeffersons and the Alexander Hamiltons of the world if it weren't for the fact that they had this oppressive regime to stand up against? I think probably not.
No, I
is the
totally
answer.
agree. You're talking about the
So this is an opportunity, the moment we live in. Because I am sick and tired, even myself, of you may have, I don't know if you've read some of the books I've written or anything like this, of pointing out the problem. I've
I
done
have.
plenty of that. But this is our opportunity now. We're not just going to throw up our hands and complain about it.
Oh, my
This
wife's
is
a
our
huge
moment to revive.
I agree. My wife's a huge fan.
Thank you. Tell her thank you. What's her name?
Erica.
Thank
Erica,
you.
tell
She
her
almost
thank you.
got up this morning, but we don't have anybody to take care of my daughter. She's got to get her to school. But
How old's your daughter?
6.5.
Oh, it's good age. You have one or
I've got 4 children, 3 with my first wife, and then 1 with her.
Oh, good for
She's
you.
6.5. But I don't mean to interrupt. You're so dead on. I see you talk about this is our 1776 moment.
I really mean that.
This is an opportunity. It is. Instead of being the leftist mind of we're being attacked, we're being oppressed, let's give up and complain. Let's innovate. Let's
Hate
out
that. Yeah.
communicate. Let's use this pressure like lifting weights or jogging or climbing a mountain to get stronger. That which doesn't kill me only makes me stronger, to quote Nietzsche.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
totally true. And this is 1776 part 2 for the whole world. And it's very exciting.
And I think we got to go
Literally.
through stages
Good-
of this. And
good idea.
you've been doing this in my own corner of the world. I've been doing this to point out the problem and see it with clear eyes. You can't win a war unless you know that you're in one. That's the first step, okay?
Boom.
And you got a bunch of people on that Republican Party stage that have no clue. I mean, these are
That's
clueless
it. They don't even
puppets.
know what exactly. They're just, I'm a politician.
no
I want to
clue.
be rich and powerful.
Here are my super PAC provided talking points. Literally, the super
They're like going to a whorehouse and the whores are lined up showing you what they got and telling you their specialty. I mean, they're literally in front of the corporation saying, I'm good at this, I'm good at that. I will.
mother's milk for them. Money is the mother's milk of politics. So put them to one side. But my view is you can't win a war unless you know you're in one. And part of my job has been laying out the weaponization of financial markets, the weaponization of our capital, the weaponization of basically every sphere of our lives. This fringe minority view has taken over institutions from K through 12 education to our universities, to Wall Street, to Silicon Valley, to our U.S. military. Now, I think it's worth pausing. I was going to get to the positive part. Before I do that, I think it's worth answering the question of why this other side has managed to take over every institution. And I have an unconventional theory of this one, Alex. I think that it's worth seeing. You know, you and I may be where conservative people may classify us as being in the right. But take those labels off.
I'm
for
a
a second.
populist.
I mean, just take. I hate labels. They're not useful.
I agree.
They're reductionist. So let's just look at the substance of this. People who would have identified as being on the old left, right? Occupy Wall Street, challenging the bailouts. The old left version of break up big tech. The old left that was critical of colleges charging way too much money for providing far less in return. The people who have criticized schools in the inner cities, failing to serve black kids in the inner city or whatever. Even our military, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, a lot of that criticism used to come from what was perceived to be the old left. What happened was each of those institutions, what they did was, if you're Wall Street, you don't want to occupy Wall Street, but I'll do the new woke stuff, diversity, inclusion, climate change. Great. If you're Silicon Valley, I don't like the left-wing break up big tech. I'll censor hate speech and misinformation as you define it, but I don't do it for free, as long as I get to get you off my back. The U.S. military, if you're Mark Milley, you don't want to talk about accountability for Iraq and Afghanistan. Forget about that. I'll talk about white rage and systemic racism. So part of this is a deeper arranged marriage. It's more like, use the whorehouse analogy, it's more like mutual prostitution.
Well, that's right.
Between
the power
two strange bedfellows.
That's right. The power structure has failed. They're not the aristocrats that are doing it for their own good. They know they're a fraud. The system's coming
Yes.
apart. And
they know it's a fraud, but it's an arranged marriage that allows them to keep their power intact.
That's it.
So anyway, you've talked about
why
similar
this has
themes.
happened, though?
Yeah.
Look, there's a meme. It's totally true. History shows it. Bad times make hard men make good times make weak men make bad times.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. So a lot of it is our fault. We can't just blame the globalists and the aristocracy.
Thank you.
Their rot is our rot.
I love this.
And so
That's what I'm talking about.
there's so much entertainment, so much food.
We got to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, why is it that we bend the knee? Because yes, when the Israelites escape from the Pharaoh, they're lost in the desert, yet to find the promised land. What did they say? We want to go back and be ruled by the Pharaoh.
That's right.
And so we can complain about the Pharaoh all we want, and it exists. The global ESG movement, modern stakeholder.
But we have to build our own system. That's actually
what is it that makes us want to bend the knee?
That's actually what this book, The Great Awakening, comes out next week. It's available on InfoWars right now, pre-order. This is a really important book, Defeating the Globalist and Launching the Next Great Renaissance. I wasn't even going to bring the book up till you brought this up. This book is not just about how they're bad, and that's half the book. The rest is solutions. So I'm really impressed with your work and research. I hope you'll read
I'm
it.
going to take a copy?
Excited
Please,
to see
sir.
this.
For me, all right.
Take a couple for your crew as well. So
Absolutely. I'm going to.
but you're totally nailing it, and I
I'll take this
watch
with
and listen
me,
to you. That's how I was able to steal your thunder and say you're absolutely. In fact, you influenced this book. In me hearing you, we've got to talk more about solutions. And I was already on that kick, but you're right. I was like, I got to write a book about solutions and the system we can build that's alternate.
This is the moment now.
we
Now
can't
is our
just
moment
say
to do
blow
it.
this up. We got to have
An alternative vision.